OffScript. Hopefully you're really enjoying the episode so far. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and listening as well, because you might be listening. I'm joined once again by the main man, East Coast Iniesta, Mr. Lewis Wright. How are you, Lewis?
All right, mate. Just sorting out the volume there to make sure everything's all sound for tonight. Another great guest on OffScript tonight. We have the left wing legend, Mr. Mark Angel, from the glory days at Boston United. So I'm looking forward to getting into the juicy stories from times gone by.
Fantastic.
So, evening, Mark. How are you?
Hi guys, how you doing? All right?
Perfect, mate. What you been up to? Been keeping busy? Have you been like Mo Farah on steroids like everybody else during the lockdown?
I'd like to say I've been keeping fit, but I'm sort of hiding my figure underneath the table, so you can't really see it. So I've got a young fam. I've got 3 young children, like 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So they've been keeping me busy, to be honest with you. So it's been hard work, but just like everyone's had challenges over the lockdown. So, but fingers crossed, for everyone's over the finishing line now. We can start getting back to enjoying ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the dream. We're nearly there. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully balls will be getting kicked on a lovely, nice green surface very soon. Well, saying that, they're probably muddy still, quite wet around here at the minute. So OffScript, you've seen a few of the episodes. You sort of know the format which me and Cookie run through. Let's start right at the beginning of Mark Angel's grassroots footballing up north in Newcastle upon Tyne, where you was born. How did it all come about? What age did you get involved?
Yeah, I was probably like most children down this area. I was about 6 or 7, and there was the Newcastle area, the North East, a real big hotbed of football, and you've got there's really big grassroots football clubs there that produce many footballers. I think if you're looking at a club called Walsend Boys Club, that's obviously had Alan Shearer and Lee Clark, Peter Beardsley and Michael Carrick. So I was playing with a grassroots club that was in competition with them, and it's produced quite a few footballers. So yeah, I started 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up playing obviously with my mates, and I got a chance to go to Newcastle United Academy at 11. So and that's where it started basically.
Wow, we might as well stop OffScript right there, because he just named Alan Shearer, Lee Clark, Michael Carrick. We're done. We're out. We've completed it now. Wow, that's some talent up north. So you started at Newcastle, and how many seasons was you there for?
I was there as a schoolboy, but to be honest, I was very small built, so I actually left there when I was about 13, 14, and I went back to playing grassroots football again. Obviously, I was very small, and I'm obviously an August birthday as well, so literally I was one of the smallest in the year. I was obviously just missed out on being the year below at school, so I sort of went back to playing with my friends. Obviously, then I got picked up by Sunderland, and obviously went to Sunderland and went there straight as a pro. So I was quite lucky to go back into football. Obviously, I wanted to get back and try and concentrate on my schoolwork a little bit more, because obviously I've done football since I was 7, 8, and coming out of the game at 14, I thought, what am I going to do now? So I went back to school and tried to knuckle down, even though I wasn't particularly that clever at school either. So, but I just went back to school and done a little bit more work. And but luckily, I was playing football, and I got picked up by Sunderland and got offered a pro contract quite young. So I was quite lucky to do that, really.
Unbelievable. So was you always? We always ask the question on OffScript. Was you always a left winger, being small and nippy? Yeah,
I was a left winger, and obviously when we signed for Sunderland, I'm a Geordie, all my family from the middle of Newcastle and the roughest part of Newcastle probably, and they're all mad Newcastle fans. So me signing for Sunderland wasn't a good idea. But I'll be honest, I've always been a Sunderland supporter growing up. My dad always took me to the Sunderland game because they were the best team in the area at the time, and I've sort of stuck with that, even though that's like someone from Boston probably supporting Lincoln City probably, or Grimsby or something like that. So it was an odd one, but that's the way I was brought up, and I was lucky to play for them, really.
Yeah, Mackhams. So when you just before you went from Newcastle, made the jump to the red and white side, did you have any other offers to go anywhere else? Or a nice transition straight to?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. It was just down there. Obviously, it was 20 minutes drive from where I lived. Obviously, my parents, I was still a young lad, so I lived at home as well. So probably not the best idea, because obviously I was going out the weekends. And I mean, it's a different culture now. The football at this level, obviously the top end level, you don't have many players going out weekends, and I think players look after themselves a little bit more now, which is the game's changed now much more in terms of the scientific side of everything and the fitness side of it. So yeah, I probably couldn't do what I did now, and probably most players at that age were 18, 19, but you obviously got to change it. If you want to be at that top level and play at that good level, you've got to try and change ways a little bit and sort of look after yourself, which is it's more and more part of the game now, the fitness side of it, rather than just the ability side.
When you said obviously it wasn't sort of a scholarship, it was more of a schoolboy you went and did. Was your contact time different, i.e. training with the team more than the others, or was it on par? Because the sort of let you out.
Yeah, I think the schoolboy side was. I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't enjoy the academy side of playing football. I liked to play with my friends. It was fun. My dad made me go to training, but obviously after a while, when I got to 13, 14, I realised that it was what I wanted to do. So, but the early days I didn't enjoy doing it, to be honest with you, because there was a lot of good players there. There's a lot of, obviously, the academy system is there. There's a lot of players want to be the best players, and it's a lot of very competitive. So I didn't really enjoy it when I was younger, but obviously when I got older and I realised that it was what I wanted to do, then obviously I made my own decisions, and then I wanted to go down that route, really.
Yeah, the sort of, you got that maturity where the penny drop, thinking, no, I've got to knuckle down. If I'm going to make being a pro, this is what I've got to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So from your youth team days, let's see if we can drop some other big names in. Through when you was at Sunderland, what sort of names was coming up there through the ranks with you?
I think you've got Michael Bridges, who was at Leeds, obviously, Sunderland, Newcastle. Michael Gray, obviously being in the Premier League, I was good friends with him, to be honest with you. He liked a night out, and obviously I had a few nights out when I was there. So,
going back to Michael Gray. Michael Gray, didn't he appear on Harry Redknapp's thing?
Yeah. I watched the podcast of him the other night. Actually, obviously when I go to bed, I watched his podcast, and it was really good listening to his stories from obviously when he played. Obviously, I was just below him as well, so it was good, and that's why I like the idea of doing one of these, because it's you can have a relax and you can talk about everything that you used to. Obviously, I won't go into detail, but they're really good to watch.
Yeah, there's nothing better than just talking football. You come up with something better for me. Michael Bridges was a very good player. Good player. Obviously, big money to Leeds. Michael Gray. Was there any others that come to mind?
I think coming through, there's a player called Martin Smith. He was at Sheffield United. He's at Sunderland. But obviously the pros there when I was there was Don Goodman, David Rush, who was at. I've been to a few clubs with David. He was at Oxford. He was at Sunderland, obviously, when I was there, and obviously I moved around with him a couple of times as well. So there's some. But to be honest, yourself, that academy level and players actually going on to make it, it's getting more and more difficult. And I'm being honest, there was players better than me when I was younger. But I think in the trial game I played, I scored 2 goals in the trial game, and I've got friends now. And I mean, I'm mid-40s now, and there's players who I've still contact with back in Newcastle, better players than me, but it's just being a bit lucky at the right time and someone watching you and someone liking you at the time, and that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, awesome. So how was it sort of playing at the the big stadiums and stuff like that? Because obviously around here, we've got the York Street, the Fortress. We've got the team down the road, which we don't tend to mention. Obviously, that's a half decent stadium as well. How was it playing in front of big crowds? Yeah,
I think obviously grounds wise. I mean, I went back to the stadium late and played for Oxford against Sunderland, and I scored the first goal there. I think it was about 20,000 there. So that was a good experience. I did. So I watched on YouTube the other day, and I celebrated because I was playing left back that game. One of my mates had money on me to score. I think I was 33-1, and they all had a 10. I'm talking 20 years ago now. They all had 10, 20 quid on me then, so they're doing all right out of it.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's been some big ground, like I say, they've played at the old Villa Park, I played at Anfield, played Wolves, Birmingham City, played at the old Arsenal grounds. I'm trying to think of Sheffield United, all them. If I look down all the lists, I'm sure there's probably 3/4 of the grounds that I've been involved in and played games, and so good experience. It's a shame that now there's no fans in the ground, which has made. To be honest, I'm watching games now, and I don't think I think it's not the same watching games now when there's no fans there, and it looks like a practice game to me. So I'll be honest, when I'm watching games now, it's not much atmosphere, I think, so it's difficult sometimes.
There's only a few exceptions, probably Juve and Porto the other week. Games normally played at about 75% for me. Everything's very safe. There's no risks being taken.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Apart from if you're Man City, who just make it look easy.
It's different, isn't it? It is different.
Yeah. So the time at Sunderland, obviously that's where you came through. Who was your gaffer back then? And sort of, is there any stories from your youth team, schoolboy Dave? Cleaning boots, because that was a thing back then. Yeah, we used to have to.
I was quite lucky because I was as pro straight away. So even though I was 18, 19, and obviously there was boys there roughly the same age as me. Just obviously they were second year scholars, and I was the first year pro really. So, but my manager there was a guy called Dennis Smith, who was West Brom manager, Oxford manager. He's played for Stoke City, probably one of their greatest ever players. So, he in Malcolm Crosby, I think he's been at Derby, he's been at Middlesbrough. So, I was there when they were there, and Peter Reid, he was the one that actually let me go. Peter Reid. So. He let me. I was a pro there, and obviously they weren't going to had a 2-year contract. And at the end of the contract, he said to me, "Listen, we're not going to sign you for another year." So, obviously, that's when I moved on. So it was tough time, but you have to get up.
Peter Reid can be very crude at times. I know firsthand because I was quite lucky when I was at secondary school. We had a trip to Question of Sport, and he was on Ali McCoy's team. Bonkers. Yeah.
I actually like him. Actually, I do like him, to be fair. And it was just that was it. At the end of the day, and I didn't actually like him, and I thought he was good with the players. He was because I was only a young pro then. I wasn't in the first team. I was a young pro, but I know he was well liked up there, and like I say, he done a good job at Sunderland, and I liked him, to be honest with you. He was a nice bloke, to be honest.
Very much so. No, there was he's top guy. I know the Question of Sport took about 2 hours to film. 1 30-minute episode, probably longer than that.
Yeah, he was really good.
So the transition. So you was very fortunate. You went straight to being pro at Sunderland. So I've got my list here. Correct me if your source on Wikipedia is wrong. You've got Sunderland, which we touched on. Did you link with the guy from Sunderland? Is that what took you to Oxford?
Yeah.
Did you go through there?
Yeah, he invited me down to Oxford. I went down as a 19-year-old, and it was a bit of a culture shock to me because I'm from the rough part of Newcastle, where I'd gone down to Oxford, which was one of the nicest places in the country to live in, and I was a young lad, so I trained for a week, and I played in the pre-season first-team game and did really well in the game, and obviously got offered a contract. So I loved the time down there. I think I had 2 or 3 years there. Played some good games there, and I speak to all the players that were there then from 20 odd years ago now, so I'm still in contact with the players there. So it was a good time for that football club. It was a really good club. I think we were League 2 at the time.
When you went to Oxford, Mark, did you get released from Sunderland, or was it just a transfer to Oxford?
It was end of contract, so they didn't offer me a new contract. I was out of contract anyway, so. But to be honest, even if I had been offered a contract, the chance to go and play at a lower level to play first team football, I would have done it anyway. To be honest with you, and to be honest, I had a bad injury when I was at Sunderland. The last part of the last 4 months of the season anyway, I fractured my foot, so I didn't play anyway. So the chance to move out the area was a good thing really. So, but when I got the contract, I was fit. Who knows? But that's the way it went.
So you went to Oxford 95 to 98 Football League. I saw some out saying that it was, excuse me, 85 appearances and scoring 6 goals.
Yeah.
Nice.
So any blinders in there, or was it? Obviously, I know for a fact, which we'll cover in a bit, you like to take a free kick. Many free kicks?
There was one I seen the other day. I looked at. I actually scored a header against. I scored a header against Portsmouth, which I don't head the ball. I scored a right footer against Stoke City. So yeah, I got Bristol City. I scored a left foot. So I've had a variety of goals there. But yeah, it was. I enjoyed. There were some good players there. Some really good players that went on to be international footballers, and there were some top players there, to be honest.
So your next move in. So you was 95 to 98 at Oxford. How did the move in 98 come about to West Brom in the Football League as well? Who took you?
Yeah, Dennis Smith was manager then. He obviously was at Sunderland when I was younger. Obviously, then he went to Oxford and took me there, and the chance to. I still had a year contract left at Oxford, but the guy who took over was a guy called Malcolm Shotton, he was a Geordie guy like me, and I thought we got on really well, but I didn't sort of get on with him in the end because we went on a mid-season tour to, I think we went to Cyprus, somewhere like that, and he was on about me being relaxed. He said, "Listen, come on, you've got to focus on your football and that." But I'd actually lost my passport when I was there, so obviously we wanted to have a clean slate. We wanted to have a clean slate before we went. He said, "Listen, have a nice holiday. We'll have a clean slate and concentrate for." But then obviously I delayed the whole plane because I lost my passport because I forgot where it was. And me and one of the other lads there. So when we got back from there, I think that was the beginning of the end. Really, said, "Listen, we had it off from West Brom for a year. You might as well go because I'm not going to play," and that was it. So I don't think that holiday helped. The lads' Bromden holiday, so I delayed the plane for about 3 hours. So that didn't help me really. But that's football, isn't it? You move on and you go to other clubs and you do well. And fingers crossed, I don't know right at West Brom, but it was a big club, massive club of internationals there. I knew I wasn't going to play a lot when I went, to be honest. But I had Kevin Kilbane, who was left winger. Obviously, 100 odd caps for Ireland. James Quinn, I think he played for Peterborough as well, 50 odd caps for Northern Ireland. Lee Hughes, obviously been there, done it, £1 million player. There's that many good players there, but I was only 22, 23, still played about 25 games, most of them probably as a sub, but good experience, obviously, living in the area as well. So I enjoyed West Brom. It was good. Some good players there.
I got it down here that you actually scored as well for West Brom in those 25 appearances. So
yeah, we played Watford. I think we played Watford in the champion. That was the championship then. So yeah, I think we won 2-0 at Watford. So I played and scored in that. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that part. I'm still a young lad, living away from home. So it was a good contract. It was a good contract for me as well. Good financially, it was a good contract for a young lad. So I enjoyed that time there as well.
Back then, was it? Did you sort out your own contracts with teams and pick up the phone, or did you have someone doing it for you? Did you have agents?
I had an agent actually. That even though 20 years ago, I had an agent there then. So he sort of made move out, and obviously he got me a decent contract. Obviously sorted my house out because I bought a house down there, and he sorted all that out. So yeah, it was. Even back then, there was agents on board now, but I think agents nowadays, there's much more to it now because obviously they're dealing with multi-million-pound contracts, and I've got some contacts in that area anyway. So, but it's a massive difference now because probably then you need 30, 40 players to make a good living out as an agent, but now you need one player to get millions from a transfer. So yeah, we had agents then. Yeah, we did.
Awesome, mate. So your agent, so as you said, it probably didn't work out at West Brom like you probably hoped, but then you had like international competition. You then made the move back up north to Darlington. In 2000. How was it? Did you go back home?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go back home. I knew Darlington they were a big club then. To be honest with you, they had a new stadium, which was the chairman was bankrolling the club, and some of the money that players were getting paid was astronomical, and obviously I had a chance to go back. Even appearance money for players was like, you're talking about £1,000 appearance money. So I had a chance to go back up there, but the manager who signed me, he left about 3 hours later. He got sacked. So I literally signed the door, and the new manager came in. So the manager, I literally signed the paperwork, and within about 3 hours, got a phone call saying that he'd left. So, but I could have went up there during transfer deadline. West Brom were going to let me go. I travelled up to halfway up to Darlington, and Gary Megson just come in as manager, and he wouldn't let me go. He said, obviously, I'm not seeing you play. So I got stopped from going deadline day, to be honest. But then I went back in the summer. But it was just one of them things. Manager leaving, I still had a contract there, but obviously then I stayed there for about 6 months, and I wanted to move away, to be honest. I wanted to didn't enjoy it. Going back up home, obviously football in terms, it was a good move, but then I was back at home, and I was looking for houses again and trying to buy a house. I was still a young lad, had a girlfriend at the time, and it didn't work out. Really, the new manager coming in, and he was bringing his own players in, so I looked to move again. Then I was obviously went on.
Did you get many times where the gaffers would, like, say, going back to the West Brom and such, did they say, "Oh, we want to send you out on loan, Mark"? Was that ever an option?
Yeah.
Did you sort of fight for your place most of the time?
A bit of both, really. I mean, I had a chance to go to Exeter. There was loads of, like, Bristol Road, loads of clubs like that, because West Brom were a championship club at the time. So I used to go in, if you're playing a reserve game, you'd have a look to see which clubs were there. And there was loads of clubs, so I had a chance to go to loads of clubs. But to be honest, I was involved in the first team all the time. I was sub quite a lot of the time, but obviously I was involved in the first team all the time. So, but there was some good players there. I mean, even there's a guy who played Italy called Enzo Maresca. I think he was being tipped for the Arsenal job apparently. So, but he was a young lad coming through. I think West Brom paid about $2 million for him. So, but there's some top players there. To be honest, it was a good club.
Yeah. So 2001 was Darlington, and then as I said, probably didn't work out particularly what you wanted it to. So you then made a move further up north to Queen of the South in Scotland. Good standard. Did you enjoy your time there, or was that another one which probably didn't work out as much?
No, I enjoyed it there. I enjoyed it. The only thing was, obviously, I went. It was semi-pro, so I had to I was playing full-time football and went to go as a semi-pro. Even though the money was still roughly the same, just being a professional, going to being a part-time footballer, I found, and I had that when I went to Kings Lynn as well. When I left Boston, went to Kings Lynn, I found that transition as being full-time footballer. Knowing you had to go train every day, and you had to being part-time footballer, to being in 2 nights a week. I found that hard work, to be honest, to motivate myself to keep fit. So I enjoyed it there, to be honest. I did enjoy it there, but then I had a chance from Queen of the South. I got a phone call from Boston, from Steve, to come down and speak to Boston. So it was a good move.
Obviously, we'll cover the Boston in more depth in a bit. How did the move come about? Did Steve pick up the phone, or was G there scouting, or? I think how it happened is
there was a guy. The guy who was at West Brom obviously recommended me to Boston. I can't remember the name of the guy who was there. He was a coach at the time. Alan Lew, as he was called. Alan Lewis, I think. But he obviously rang me up and said, would he be interested in coming down? And I have to be honest, I had to look where Boston was. I didn't have a clue where it was. I had to look and think, I said to Mum and Dad, I said, where's Boston? Where's that? So I didn't have a clue where it was. And so obviously... I made the chat. I came down, had a chat.
Was you pleasantly surprised when you did turn up to the island of Boston? Did you sort of get that feel that it is a big non-league club?
Definitely, it was a massive club. I mean, when I came down, Boston were in the conference then, and we were probably one of the only 2 or 3 clubs that were full time then in the conference. And I knew they were a massive non-league club. Spoke to a few people, and at the time then, Boston was probably one of the biggest non-league clubs in years gone by. A massive club, paying loads of fans in the games. And I mean, I even just looked at a game of the day when we played Man United in pre-season. It was like nearly 4,500, 5,000 there. So, but yeah, I knew it was a massive club. So obviously went down and met Steve and had a chat with the old Glidodrome officers down there. Went and met him in there. So he basically said, "This is what I'm going to offer you. If you don't like it, get out and go." That's what he basically said. So there's no negotiations. When he just said, "Take it or leave it, get out," that was it. So, but he said, "If you don't want it, off you go." So, but yeah, it was good. I liked it. Come down, and I knew a few lads there anyway. I knew Sammy Weatherston was there. Jamie Cook. I knew Ross Weatherston as well. I knew them boys from Oxford. So, and I knew that the club were saying a lot of good players. And we were full time. I thought it was a great chance for us to win the league because we were full time basically, and a lot of the other clubs were still semi-pro part time. So I knew that the club were a massive club and they're putting a lot of money into the club. So yeah, I loved to come down. It was a good choice.
Yeah, and I think I think that's where you settled really, because obviously looking, you was all over the country. Obviously trying to settle down again. You settled in, you go non-league, semi-pro now, 04-05, which was Kings Lynn, 39 appearances, 5 goals. You said it earlier that, that was a weird time of going from full-time football into probably 2 nights a week. Was you a sort of person who could motivate yourself to do the extra, which you was doing probably with a group of lads at full-time training, or did you sort of say, well, it is what it is now?
I'll be honest, because I've been a pro and played in the league, then obviously playing in the league with Boston as well. And when I left Boston, Steve said to me, "Listen, there's a contract there for you if you want to stay another year." But I'll be honest, financially to go to Kings Lynn were a massive club then, and they offered me a 2-year contract basically. So that was and it was only down the road as well. I've still obviously lived in the area still as well. So it was, but I didn't enjoy going doing semi-pro football again, even though I was captain at Kings Lynn for a lot of that time as well. And I had a really good time there, but I didn't like the transition from going full-time football to part-time again, because you say on Monday, yeah, I'm going to do one Monday, but you don't. You go, I'll wait till Tuesday and train Tuesday. So I found it hard like that. Well, other players probably not, but I found the mentality of trying to train twice a week and try and keep yourself fit. I found that hard work, to be honest with you. So especially when I've been used to.
When you joined Linmark, did you have to pick up work? Obviously, not being a full-time footballer, did you pick up work, or was you all right with the contract that you was on at the time?
To be honest, because I was basically getting paid the same I was getting Boston full time. So, but then I started to look at thinking I need to go down the coaching route and get all my coaching badges and do that route then. So, but I knew I was at Kings Lynn for 2 years, and I knew then I was 31, 32, or 33. I knew I had to start thinking about doing something different. And then that's when I went down the coaching route and got the badges, and then that's what I looked to do then after that.
And then from Lynn, you had a loan spell at Cambridge. You had a loan spell at Stanford, which again is local, and a loan spell at Wisbech.
Yeah.
How was that? Obviously, we've had a few of the guests on who have played at Wisbech. How did you find them in particular?
I liked it, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, look, going back to Cambridge, that was basically going from part-time football to going back to full-time football again. I didn't want to do it, to be honest, because I had a bit of a cushy like doing 2 nights a week, but Cambridge was full-time again. So, but going to Wisbech, I liked it because I think Dick Creasy, he's a local lad, isn't he? Boston lad. He got me I got on well with Dick, to be fair, and I liked Wisbech. There's some good lads there. I thought it was a good club, but I ended up going back to Stanford then, and Stanford was a big club at the time as well. That was a really big club with some good players with Graham Drury there. So we got a promotion there as well. So I only stayed at Wisbech not long, but some of the lads that played there, like I think obviously local lads like Steve Appleby, he was captain. I think he was top player. He was good lad. He was. Danny Hussey played as well. He's obviously a local Spalding lad. He was a good player. But there's some really good lads locally, like Wisbech, who played Wisbech, who were some top players there. To be fair, it was a big club. I thought at the time it was a good club.
Yeah. And then you made the transfer to Dis. Obviously, correct me if these clubs aren't the ones you actually played for. Then you went to Mildenhall, Newmarket Town, Bourne Town, and then you finished up at Spalding United. Again, still quite local to the area.
Yeah.
How was it travelling to Dis?
God, that was about 25 hours a day. That was travelling over there. That was an absolute nightmare. That was in the middle of that was miles away. That was, but we had a car school from, I think we picked one up from Spalding, and so that was a long trek. That was, but that was a good club as well. Some good lads there who I still keep in touch with now. That was a good club, and down to Mildenhall as well. Had a spell there as well, but I think when I played there, I think I went to Newmarket, and I think it was about 20 goals I scored. I was playing as a striker there, enjoyed that, but I was sort of getting to I just thought I didn't want to do it anymore. I was travelling to Newmarket. I had an issue with the contract. They offered me a contract to like a staying up bonus if we stayed in the league and they're financially looking after us, but they never did. So I left there, and I was top scorer, but I sort of didn't want to play football. I didn't enjoy it as much as I used to then, the travelling and things like that, and I just wanted to do something else. I went to Spalding pre-season, and obviously I was starting coaching then. I was doing my coaching badges and doing coaching then, so I didn't really want to have the commitment to go on Tuesday, Thursday training and then play on the Saturday when I could do my own coaching then, and I started getting into coaching then, and that's what I've done, so I enjoyed it. So that was probably the Spalding pre-season, that was the final. I probably couldn't even play in the walking football team, man. Never mind I know Boston got a walking football team. I don't think I get in that squad.
I don't know. We might be able to find squeeze a place for you. If not, my over 35s are always looking.
Football everywhere. So,
you what, sorry, Cooks?
I said there's football everywhere now. It doesn't stop.
Yeah, there's football everywhere, especially with us coming back. All systems go. But when you was at Dis Town, was that I could be getting the eras wrong here. Was AD there? AD Hayes? Because I was there.
Yeah, I think it was just before that. I think just before that was a guy called. He was actually manager of Wisbech. Actually, he's called Richard. What was he called? He was a crazy bloke. He was manager of Wisbech for a bit, and then he went to Dis as manager. But he did his team tour. He did his team tour, and he just kept looking at me and go, "What do you think then? What do you think?" And I said, "Well, you're the manager." He's doing it right. I'm going to speak today about the game, and he go, "Right, Mark, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, I'm playing. You're the manager." So he was like a 15-year-old coach running a team, and he was asking everybody.
Did you find that though, later in your career when you was going to these teams? Did you think that sometimes the gaffers were turning towards you to seek your approval because you've been ex-pro, full-time supporter, more experienced head in the dressing room? Did they sort of want that support from you? Yeah,
I like they did. Like say when I was at Kings Lynn, Tommy Taylor was obviously Boston manager. He was I was there when Tommy was there, and he made me captain there, and he liked to get me involved and get me on board. But I think he obviously made me captain, and about 6 months later, he tried to get me. I think I was sort of Kings Lynn reserves against Down Market for one game, and he said you have to go in the reserves. I said because obviously I was on a contract, and Cambridge came in for me. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to go full-time football again. He said, "Listen, we need you to go because obviously you're on a contract, and we can get you off the wage bill." But I didn't want to go, so then I was travelling from being first team captain in front of 1,000 people to sub for the reserves at Wroxham Town and places like that. So, but it was what it was. Obviously, wanted me to go, didn't want me to stay because the club obviously wanted to get me off the wage bill. So that was interesting. I should have retired then, I think.
Yeah. So when you sort of reflect back on it all, on the pro career, is there a certain point where you can probably pinpoint where you thought, "I wish I'd done that different"?
Yeah.
Or do you have no regrets about it? It is how it's panned out for a reason.
I'll be honest. I think the big part of the game now is the mental side of the game, and I think that's massive now. And I think mentally in the game, the level I played at was a good level. And if I'd been maybe a bit mentally stronger, or had people I could speak to, and you haven't had a good game, you just have to get on with it. Whereas now, I think the top players, the young players, get a lot of support. And I think the mental side of the game, my opinion, I think I'd say it's probably 80% mental, 20% ability now. That's my opinion. I think if you're mentally at the races and you're on your game and you're positive and your mental approach is good, I think you can more or less play against anybody. But when you're mentally not focused and you're mentally, I think it's a massive part of the game now. And I think it's tough for any young players coming through. But the top level players are the ones that keep going at the top level all the time. So I think the mental side of it, I didn't enjoy sometimes because there was a lot of pressure on young players. And being in the team, and then 3 weeks out of the team not playing, and you end up not training properly, and so it's a massive part of the game. I think the mental side of it. I think that's why the top level clubs have got so much foundations in and around all the players now, because getting that extra 10-20% out of a player might be a £20 million move for somebody. So I think it's a big part of the game now, which I would like a bit more help with. So it's a young lad not playing, then you're playing 1 week, then you're the best player on the team, then you get dropped. But funny enough, I had this when I was at Boston. Neil Thompson offered me. Obviously, I got on well with Neil, but he offered me a contract, and it's when I come out of the England semi-pro with Boston, he offered me a contract, and me and Simon both played in that game, but he offered us a contract, and the contracts were different, and I went from playing every week to not even being in the squad and being travelling the reserves, and so it affects you. It affects you something when you're used to playing, and someone says, I don't want you to play here, or I don't like you, or I don't want you in the team, or so it affects not just the young players, it affects all levels of footballers now. I think the mental side of football is massive, I think.
Yeah, well, obviously we're going to cover that now, actually. It's on the list. So, Cookie, in 2002, Mark actually represented England C team along with Simon Weatherston, during his Boston days, which is a massive achievement. Kudos. It's how was it? Who else sort of got called up into that team? Was it? Did you recognise a lot of the boys because you was playing week in?
Yeah, I think it was. A lot of them. Obviously, Yeovil were a big club then at the time. There was a few of their lads. There was Dagenham Redbridge. There was a few of their lads. So it was good.
How was the Dagenham boys with you?
They're not great, to be honest with you, but we had a night out. We had a really night out in Peterborough. I'll go into and tell you about it. But it was brilliant for me and Simon because we'd won the league then, and obviously one of the games was, I think we played Scotland, which was at York Street, and for us to go back to play at Boston's ground at the end of the season to play for England, it was a great experience. Let's say, it wasn't the England full men's team at Wembley, but to play for England and through at Boston where we won the league, and there was loads of Boston fans there. It was really good, and it was a proud moment for me because my parents came down and things like that. So it was good. It was good time.
Who was managing the England C team?
I can't remember now. I can't remember, but we had like 4 games in the tournament, and I think I played 2 or 3 of them. But actually, in one of the games, I came off ill. But I ended up having chicken pox. Obviously, I was like 30 years old, and I thought I was dying with it. I had chicken pox, so I got chicken pox on one of the games. So it affected me. But all the lads were good. We had a team. We went out in Peterborough on a night out because we stayed in Peterborough Hotel. And all the Scottish lads we played against, we were all out on a night out in Peterborough. So it was a good night that was. I don't think you get away with a night out now. What we were up to, and then we were out till 5 o'clock, hotels and everything. It was mad. Honestly, it was madness. But that was good. That was a good night out. That
football, how football's evolved.
Definitely.
Didn't take much on the mental side that time, though, Mark, did it?
Definitely not that. That was a good night out. That was a good night out. Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. That was. It was good to represent my country. It was really good.
Yeah, definitely. And then coming away from the game, because we're going to swing back to the Boston glory days in a minute. So you come away, as you said, you've been doing your coaching. You recognise that you needed to get your badges done. Still keep a bit of a career in the game.
Yeah.
You ended up getting the managerial job at Boston Town. Maybe.
Yeah.
Obviously, that lasted till Feb 16th. I think you left due to a few family commitments. But how was your time at Town? How did you
how it came about is I've still got my house in Boston that I've got still there now, and obviously the chairman obviously involved at the club obviously asked me at the time if I wanted to get involved, and in hindsight, if I'm being totally honest, I probably shouldn't have got involved because I had a young family. I had, like I say, I had young children, and it was a busy time. It was a busy time for me. So it was. I found it hard, the commitment as well. From, like I say, I was travelling to go to training, and you couldn't get. At the time then, there was a lot of players who weren't local players, and my argument was you should have lots of local Boston lads who would come and play for Boston Town for nothing. They would do to go and play. And, but that was my issue. We had players coming from Grimsby, and I just didn't agree with it sometimes. And I mean, I think one of the games we played in the Senior Cup, we played the Blackstones in a game, and we had like 11 players. And this was, bearing in mind, this is a chance to go and play at Lincoln City's ground, and we didn't even have any players. We had no subs. I mean, I think I was sub and I hadn't played for about 8 years, and I thought, I'm giving up my time for this. And we got a chance to play a cup final in a league ground where I played many times, and I just thought, we didn't get the commitment off the players, and I just found it difficult. And like I said,
you may or may not remember this, but the gaffer I used to coach alongside, Giles, his name is, he ran Leverton, and I can remember one night he'd messaged me saying, Lewis, absolutely buzzing. We've got a pre-season game against Boston Town. I was like, give over, not a chance. He says, yeah, we have. Mark Angel's agreed to play us in pre-season. I was like, all right, fair dues. Like, good challenge for the boys. And
I think the pick's one of the players in that. I think the pick's one of the players.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing was, he goes, we got to the game, and the person who was sort of letting us all in, he says, Mark's had an absolute merit. He thinks he's playing Leverington. This is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I still remember that day. I think you only had one sub. I think, as you said, you were struggling to get local boys. And obviously, shout out to Fordy. Because Fordy, I'd been on to Fordy pre-season saying, oh, come to us, mate. You know, we're going to be, I think it was in Division 1 at the time. Come to us. You're going to be the spine of the team. Probably sold him the dream like Leverton was Disneyland. And he came and he played one game. Well, no, I think he played 2 games. Next game, Mark Angel's got his arm round and saying, come and play for me, son. Like he's gone the next week.
He was what player he was. I thought he was a brilliant player. He was a top lad as well. But he had loads of good lads there. You had like Ian Jacko. You had Alan Hyatt. He was there. He was top player. He should have been playing the league. He should have been, to be fair. You had Jordan.
Did you have Crash?
Crash, top lad. Yeah, he was top centre half. He was. We had a nucleus of a really good squad. Like Craig Parker was there, left back. He was one of the best players I've seen. Honestly, he could have played top level. He could have done. He was such a good player. Really great left foot.
Lefties stick together, Mark, don't they?
Definitely, he was a player. He was. But we had some good players there. Some good local players there. Obviously, all being ex-Boston United players there were as well. So there was a nucleus of a really good club there. But like I said before, bringing lads in from the other side of Peterborough and not getting paying lads really good money to come from Grimsby, and there's a lot of good local lads there would have played for nothing really, and the wage bill was really, like you got Lakes of Holditch and that coming in and taking 2 or 3 of the players and offering them silly money to go, and I just thought it was a good club. That could be a massive club. That could be a really good club. But that's what it was. I decided to, after the Blackstones game, we had 11 players. I had Terry Fleming was about 86. Remember Terry Fleming, who played for Lincoln? He was about 86 then, and he was playing right back, and he was our best player. And I had Jason Calaby. Remember Jason Calaby? He was, I think he's over. Yeah. He came in as my assistant, really good lad, and even he played in that game. And like Jason was like 45, Terry's like 80, and I thought, why do I bother? And I just thought I didn't need to do it. And but it was a shame, really. Like I said, I had a young family as well. I just got married as well, so I just couldn't commit to doing it, and it was a shame really, because it's got potential to be a really big club that has, but I just had to put my family first, and I didn't want to do all the travelling again. And some of them games were like other side of Leicester, like we're travelling other side of Leicester, which is 2 hours away, trying to get a squad for that. They're all right playing at home, but then trying to get the Grimsby lads to travel to Leicester Navarra, which is about 3 hours. It's pointless. So,
as you said, you had a good nucleus, obviously, including Fordy in the end, of local players, very good players like Alex Beck,
Alex Beck was a top player as well, really good player.
And Parks as well, and it was that was the good side. But the thing is, the UCL is very grueling, and you need a squad. You can't just rely on the 11 players. People getting kicked left, right, and centre. Which, in fact, that's going to come up when we cover the Boston stuff right now. So that was your managerial days done and dusted. Like you said, you've gone into coaching. You've been Arsenal soccer schools, Leicester, for 4 years. I think you said just off camera before we got on, and you're now at Peterborough. Who do you work with Peterborough? Are you doing a bit of scouting for him? Or?
Yeah, do a bit of scouting. I mean, I like that side of the game now. I like not so much the managing. I had a go at that. I didn't even want to do it, to be honest with you. I didn't want to do it in the first place. I was sort of not pushed into it, but I like the recruitment side of it now. I like the talent ID side of it now. So I've been involved in that. Involved in that with Leicester for about 4 or 5 years. Got some good academy boys there. Funny enough, the goalkeeper was at Peterborough. Tell you a story about him quickly. The goalkeeper was saying for Aston Villa, Sam Proctor.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah,
he was a left back for me when I done my Arsenal program. He was playing left back, and his dad kept saying to me, he wanted to go and goal, and I said, just let him go and goal. And his dad kept saying, he's not a goalkeeper. But he used to go and play in goal, and he was really good. But anyway, he went to Peterborough. Obviously, Peterborough saying him, and obviously I still speak to his dad now. He's local. He lives in Boston. I think he went to Boston Park School, I think. And when I went to Peterborough not long ago, obviously I went to Peterborough, moved over there. Asking his dad, I said, I told you he was a goalkeeper, didn't I? Because obviously Man City were after him, and I said, I told you he was a goalkeeper. I should just let him play where he wants, but that just proves that there's some good talented players. But for him to go from playing left back as a grassroots player to be the goalkeeper in the Premier League club now, so there was loads of clubs watching him. I mean, Leicester, that was my job at Leicester to try and get him over to Leicester. I know Leicester were keen on signing him. They were very keen on signing him, but it was a funny thing because they were interested in the size of the goalkeepers and had to be 6'4". They wanted me to be grounded to 6'4" goalkeeper. So that's what I was having to look for, and I had to look at pictures of his family and look at pictures of how big he's going to be and the rough estimate. But he's obviously not a bad goalkeeper. We've got Man City and Chelsea and Aston Villa looking at you. So that was just the story that I had about him when he was a Boston lad.
Yeah, we obviously know, me and Cookie know Sam quite well because he comes and watches his dad. His dad's goalkeeper for my over 35. Yeah. If he's anything like his dad, hopefully it's probably going to be better. I don't think AD will admit to that, but he's going to be a top goalkeeper if he's like his dad anyway.
It's a lot of commitment for him now. I know I speak to his dad, and it's a lot of commitment being at that level. But I think he's when I spoke to him, he's travelling over to Villa Park 2-3 times a week at Aston Villa. So I think Leicester would have been a good move for him, really, because Leicester's academy now is in Loughborough, so it would have been straight the other way down past that way down Lincoln. So it would have been probably a better move. But yeah, he's a top keeper. And I think he'd be 18, 19. I think you might see him in the Premier League playing games. I think top goalkeeper.
Fingers crossed. It would be fantastic to see. So Boston days. So obviously in 2001, we made the move down. Contract, take it or leave it by Mr. Evans.
Yeah.
Obviously we've covered that you didn't know where Boston was. You soon found out where it was. To come in, and have a season like you did have must have been an absolute dream come true. Just before we get into the stories and everything, Mark, I'll just do the stats, your stats throughout the years at Boston. Courtesy of Christian James at Boston United Stats on Twitter. As always, thank you, Christian, for the stats. So, Mark Angel stats: 2001, 2002, 26 appearances, 10 as sub, 4 goals. And this season, Mark, it appears that you only like to score at home. So you scored against Hayes at home, Woking home, Telford home, and Farnborough.
I remember that.
Yeah. You must have been sub on away games.
Probably, I was probably taken off after about 50 minutes from an away game, so it was too cold and too much travelling. I like the home games when I have to travel, but that is good stat, that.
2002 to 2003, you made 29 appearances, 7 sub, 6 goals, and they came this season. You did score away from home. Yeovil home, Southend away, Bournemouth away, Torquay away, Southend at home, Cambridge away. Now, I've got on my list here, how did you find the travelling? Because some of them, Southend, Bournemouth, Torquay, which you all scored away from home, is miles away. How was it?
Oh, it was absolute.
Travelling to away games for that amount of.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was horrific. But when I played at Darlington, we played Southend away. That was 8 hours on the bus. That was 8 hours. So speaking on them games, but when I scored against Bournemouth, I've searched everywhere to get that goal, and I cannot find it. I cannot find anywhere. And it was about a 40-yard shot I scored from against Bournemouth. I've looked everywhere on the internet for it, and I just cannot find it. I've looked everywhere, and I looked and thought, Bournemouth were in the Premier League obviously last season, and it's crazy, isn't it, where Boston could have been if it just had the right things happen at the right times, and obviously the stadium they've got now, and you can build on that. But I've searched everywhere to find that goal on YouTube, and I just cannot find it anywhere. So if you know anyone,
I seem to think Bournemouth was the first ever game for Boston in the Football League. I think
that was at home, yeah. Yeah, that was at home. And you look at that both Football League clubs, and to see where Bournemouth went and the amount of money they're signing players for 20, 30 million and things like that. It's crazy, isn't it? But even when Boston were in the league club, it was a massive. It was great for the town. Obviously, I still, even when I go down there, I sometimes go shopping with a wife and kids. We pop into town and just go have a walk through. And I still speak to people now from 20 years ago, and it's amazing how people still remember the football times of it. And it was a really good time for the club, that when the club was full time. Yeah. You were getting 3,000-4,000 fans in the grounds, and it's a shame that the club couldn't keep that stability and be in the league, because, let's say, all the youth foundation that you've got, all the school stuff that you're doing, all the other stuff that you're doing, that'll be the envy of many league clubs. That what you guys do, and obviously the community thing of it. It's a really good part you do there, and it's just a shame the club aren't in the football league full time to get even more fans on board and get even more publicity for what you guys do as well, and get a bigger fan base. But Boston's always been known as a good non-league club, but for us to get into the league and be a league club, that was massive. That was, when you look at some of the clubs in the conference, like Notts County and teams in Chesterfield, and I mean we were League Two then, and I looked at some of the game, beating Grimms, beating Lincoln at home, beating Scunthorpe comfortably. I watched the YouTube goals, the videos of them. We were probably the best Lincolnshire team. Probably better than Lincoln, better than Scunthorpe as well. So fingers crossed that can turn again one day.
They're trying. Oh boy, they're trying. 2003, 2004, 13 appearances, 11 as sub, 1 goal at home to Cheltenham. In total, you made 96 appearances, 68 starts, 28 sub, and you scored 11 goals for the Pilgrims. And here's a good stat for you. You played every game from Hayes at home in September of 2001 through to the end of the season, with win away at Hayes for the conference title. Unbelievable, seeing as you was a left winger who probably got smashed, where obviously the game was physical.
Yeah.
So that's an unbelievable stat. Christian also like to put in, because every footballer loves it, you were named squad number 11 in 02-03, 03-04 season, which is standard for a left winger. And only Paul Bastock, Paul Ellender, Mark Clifford and Darryl Clare played more games in 2001-2002 League One team than you. So that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't mind being behind them boys there. Them boys that you mentioned, Darryl and Bazza, I don't mind being behind them boys, because they were top players. They were top lads as well. Really good lads.
Yeah. I looked at it, and to be fair, me being a fan majority of my life, Mark Clifford did always put a shift in, to be fair. He was consistently a fullback.
Yeah.
We're dropping names left, right and centre of the glory days for the club. You know, like Paul Bastock.
I'll tell you a little story about Bazow. Yeah, obviously we all signed pretty much the same time. We've got about 12 or 13 new players. We all turned up to the ground, and we all stood there. Everyone's looking around each other. Didn't really know each other. I knew some of the lads anyway. And then I see this guy come in with like a wig, a long Mohican, and I thought, who the effing hell's this? And it was only Bazow. He had a wig on like that, about down like a hippie. And then the next time we see him, he had no hair. Honestly, he was unbelievable. Like, who's this guy? Yeah, but we thought, who's this joker? Yeah, but he was. I still keep in touch with Paul now, and I still get on well with him now. So, but what a goalkeeper he was. But just a story of him coming in with a wig on like that, and everyone started laughing. And you could tell it was you could tell it was a wig, and he took it on well. He was trying to get everyone just to relax and everyone get on well with each other and have a bit of a laugh. And because we all, like say, we had players who were part-time players who were coming in as full-time players, and he broke the ice with everybody really, and it was good for team spirit. That was brilliant.
Buzz, what a top goalkeeper. So, you know, how that season in particular, you know, I watched the Hayes game today back on YouTube. So I think it was Christian James. He's put like a montage, highlights, and the interviews after. It's fantastic. It gives you goosebumps. If you're a Boston United through and through supporter like myself, you know, you get your hair standing up on your arm. It's unbelievable. Just so much, you know, pride.
You could see it. I mean, we obviously got the bus down there and we knew that. Not being big-headed, we knew that we would win that game, to be honest with you. Probably not because he got sent off. We thought it was going to be tough, but we knew there when you had the bottom, we were at the top. We were that confident with the players we had. But even just driving down to the ground, even on the motorway, you could see all the Boston cars going down. And I mean, I played at some big clubs in front of 25, 30,000 West Midlands derbies. And when we seen all them fans, all them Boston, probably 4,000, 5,000 Boston fans all outside that ground, everyone on the bus looked at each other and went, Jesus Christ. I mean, I got goosebumps thinking that, and I watched it not long ago, to be fair. I watched it probably about a month ago, that, and seeing all them fans there outside the ground, it was amazing. It was
leading up to that, Mike, we had a couple of spells, and this was like Cookie was very, very young. What did you say earlier today? He was about 4, wasn't he?
What year is this?
2001.
He was about 20, wasn't he? 20.
2001, I'd have been about 3.
20.
Yeah.
Ouch. So, yeah, you had, obviously, it was unheard of for Sky to cover non-league games. You know, I think BT pick up conference games now, but it was the buzz around the town and everything in regards to being on. Because I think you got covered Dagenham away, and I think you lost in Sky.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gary Hill did it at Larry Large, didn't he? Bless him.
Yeah, he did. He got his comeuppance, didn't he, to be fair? So
him and Steve got on well, didn't they?
Oh, Jesus Christ. What actually made me went to I think we were expecting to win, weren't they?
What was the you spoke about pressure and mental side. Did you feel extra pressure being televised?
Probably not, to be honest with you, because I mean, I think having all them fans there knew that we had to do it, and I think everyone was confident, and it was like a home game. They had probably about 50 fans there, and we had 4,000, 5,000, whatever it was. And I think if we went down there and it wasn't on Sky, and maybe there wasn't so many Boston fans then, it was like a run-of-the-mill game, we might have found it quite challenging, but obviously we'd all done well all season. I think the momentum was what we were on good form in the players that we had in that team.
Do you personally think when you're travelling to Hayes, and I still remember travelling in my dad's car, and I had some mates who I was playing probably grassroots with at the time, and you're travelling in, and you just see this sea of orange and black, black and amber, call it. And I think I even remember somebody up a lamppost near outside this pub just swinging Boston scarves around. at that time I thought, wow, this is massive. This is huge.
It was massive. Probably one of the biggest games I played in.
Yeah, how do you as a player, how do you sort of, do you just have to soak it up? And obviously the noise in the stadium as you're getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Does it give you that extra 10%?
I mean, even when we're just warming up, I can remember, I think I was, I might even have been, that's a Darrell Clare standing, and I was looking around, everywhere you look was just full of Boston fans. You could see how much it meant to the town as well, and how much of a lift it would give everyone to go in the Football League. And like I say, we knew we had to deliver really, but like with Cozzy getting sent off as well, down to 10 men, we thought, okay, here we go. But we were still comfortable in that game, to be honest with you. We were still comfortable. We had probably 4 or 5 really good chances. I had an overhead kick that went wide, so we were comfortable. But yeah, it was amazing. That was one of the best experiences of my football career, is going into that ground and seeing all them fans there, and knowing how much they wanted it to do well, and everyone had travelled from Boston to go down. There was young children there was nan and granddads there was groups of girls there was boys on the run with all the bottles of stuff. So it was the whole community had left Boston to go down there, and it was brilliant, great experience.
I remember going in, and they were sort of confiscating the drumsticks, even though it didn't really make a difference to the noise level anyway that day. And you know, my mates, they were climbing up. I'm trying to see them. Luckily it's a fuzzy picture, but they're climbing up on the back fencing, and it was just constant noise throughout the game. Obviously Simon Weatherston, good mate of yours from the Oxford days, opens the scoring, smashes it into the roof of the net. As you say, you had the overhead kick, which would have been just icing on the cake. Cozzy got sent off, which
nightmare.
Anybody knows Peter Costello is probably one of the most professional people within the game. And where I was stood that day, I was right in front of that. 1, he got took out. Yeah, he did. 2, Cozzy would never swear at a referee. He would never get sent off for dissent. It was an absolute shambles. And the story actually behind that decision, because I actually had a word. I actually got to speak to the referee. It was really weird. We took some of our community sides on a trip to Anfield and Goodison. The second part of the trip, so Goodison was first, who treated us really nice, and then we went across to the red side, and it started raining, and you know, they were a bit funny. They were a bit different. Everton's a family club, that, you know, Liverpool's a bit more corporate. That's in my eyes. But we waited, and we did the tour of Anfield, and just before we was just going to go down the steps, touch the sign, even though I wouldn't do because I don't support them. This guy stops and he says, "Where are you guys from?" We went, and all the kids were shouting, "Boston, we're Boston United." And he goes, "Oh, I've got a bit of a connection with you guys." And I was thinking, "You what?" And it was actually, I found his name out earlier today. It's Steve Brand. He's the referee. He says, "I was the referee the day you got promoted at Hayes, and I still have Mr. Evans's champagne in my living room." And I went, "Hold on a minute, man. I'm not bothered about the champagne. Let's discuss about Cozzy's red card."
That was classic. Yeah.
That go at all.
I'll tell you a funny story. I've got a quick story I'll tell you about. We played a couple of games before the end of the season, and James Gold was on there. He was on corners in one of the games. He put a corner and he hit the first man. And Steve Evans was in the stand, and he could see he was mist coming out of his head. He was going absolutely crazy. So anyway, he runs down to the dugout, because I think it was banned from the dugout. I think he runs down to the dugout, and he said to me, he goes, "Mark, don't get on them corners." So anyway, I thought, oh my God, I'm under pressure. Yeah. So anyway, we get to corner 2 minutes later. I'm looking around, I'm thinking, don't hit that first man. Whatever you do, don't hit that first man. And I hit the corner. First man headed it away like that, and I thought, oh my! And I could hear Steve Evans. He come running down the stand. We have a go. He actually tripped on the bottom step and fell over. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. Honestly, so that led me on to doing the free kick at Hayes. Obviously, I was on the free kick, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to put a good free kick in there, because I had that in my head that he was going to slaughter me. So I was happy playing on the other side away from Steve, because he used to slaughter me. So, but I liked. He wasn't everyone's cup of tea, to be honest, but I liked him, and I got on well with him. So that was that corner story that I thought I'm on the free kicks, and I thought I'm going to be absolute crucified if I don't put this ball in.
And the free kick, oh my days! The free kick. Watching it back again, I can see it without even watching it. How much whip you actually put onto the ball, and it floats. And I believe it's Ray Warburton's first touch of the game. He's just come on as a sub after the red card. And what a bullet header. And again, everyone was getting crushed. Everyone was going crazy. Sea of black and amber jumping up and down. One of the best ever games I've ever been to.
Amazing experience.
Atmosphere, jumping on the pitch afterwards, chasing after players, trying to get I don't know, piece of grass or whatever, match ball, or whatever. How was it? Sort of, yes, one winning, getting promoted, successful season, obviously with your England C call up as well, but to do it with that team, with the players obviously who you're good friends with. Because, Ross Weatherston was in the squad, and I was a big fan of Ross. I know he suffered with injuries, though, didn't he? And I think he could have probably gone on a little bit higher if he could stay injury-free. Obviously, Simon would probably say, people would say Simon was pick of the bunch because he played more games and he was consistent as well. But, that day, so you can discuss the players in a minute, but the starting team was Paul Bastock, Mark Clifford, Jim Rodwell, who's now got a lovely seat behind Sir Alex Ferguson on FA Cup days, Paul Ellender, James Gould, Peter Costello, Simon Weatherston, Simon Rusk, yourself, Mark Angel, Neil Tarrant, who would probably been the one guy I probably forgot about that day. And Darryl Clare up top, and obviously the subs were Jamie Cook, Nick Conroy, the goalkeeper, Andy Lodge, Ant Eldin, Ray Warburton. Now I looked at that team and I thought, that's a successful team. I know it's a successful team, but how many left-footed people did Steve Evans have at the club? Good left-footed players.
Yeah, some good.
Unheard of, really.
Goldie was a good player. James Gold was really good. I got on well with James. We went on holiday, obviously, when we were with Boston. We went away together, obviously, with the lads. We went abroad. Lodgy, good left foot. Still speak to him to this day. Really good player as well. Obviously, myself. Neil Tarrant, I think he was left foot as well. Neil Tarrant, I think he was decent. I come from a good. He came from Villa. I think he came from. But we had some good players.
Jamie Cook was your competition, was he? I'm probably guessing on the left-hand side.
He was a young lad coming through when I was at Oxford, and I was doing well at Oxford. He was a young lad. There was a lot of talk about him going really high. So, but he could have done better for himself. He was so laid back, but he was such a talented player. Really good lad as well. Really, I mean, all the lads that were there at the time, every single one got on well. We socialised together. We went out together. It was. I mean, we had even. Remember Jez Murphy? Can you remember Jez? Yeah. He didn't play a lot, but he obviously on big. He was probably on big money when he was there, but he didn't play. But him and Steve, he was. Everyone loved him. I mean, Steve, even though he knew he probably shouldn't try to get him out of the club because he was obviously on the most money and he wasn't playing, but even Steve liked him. I remember one of the games they were sort of. He wanted Jez to do well, but he was meant to come on as sub for one of the games. He left his shirt in the changing room, and Steve was going absolutely crazy at him. But even Jez, who didn't play a lot, everyone got on well. Everyone from Nick Conroy, the goalkeeper, to Bazza, to Daz, to Mark Monant, Paul and everybody. Such a good group of players.
I remember Jez. It could have been that day with the shirt, actually. He was the first ever person in the game. It was done the other week, I think, in the Premier League. Jez come on, and about a couple of minutes later, he got subbed off.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons behind it then.
I'll just tell you one quick story. I wrote a couple of stories down, obviously kept them clean. I'll tell you quickly, a couple of stories. when I signed with Boston, obviously we're going full time. I thought, this is going to be good. We had a pre-season trip to Lewishwaite, which was the old England training grounds, and we obviously been really professional at the time. We were starting to be professional footballers, and I think Walsall were there, Villa, Wolves were there. So obviously we turned up as a non-league team, and obviously Steve was saying we're professional, we're full-time footballers, and we obviously went out on a night out on one of the nights there, and the next day someone was standing there having a toilet in the bushes outside where the Villa players were, and they were doing proper training. We had no balls. We're standing there next to it. We were playing football, golf. We were swinging on the trees, and they must be thinking, are these going to be a full-time football club? What these lot doing here? We had lads just coming in from a night out from about 6 o'clock in the morning, standing on the bushes having a little having number 3. So that was brilliant. And we were meant to be full-time football club then, and obviously we're doing that. But that was a really good story. But I'll tell you one more quick story. We used to all go out on a Wednesday night with the boys in town in Boston. Everyone used to stay over. We used to get a Thursday night off, so we all went out together into town. And I'm not going to name any names, but one night, one of the players had the keys for the club, and we left the nightclub in town about 3 o'clock in the morning. We opened the York Street, and we put the floodlights on, and we were all kicking about on the pitch about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, a couple of the boys might have been naked, running around the pitch. So that was, if you looked out your window and said, what's Boston United's football ground lights on 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning? I was involved in it, along with 3 or 4 or 5 players that you've mentioned names, but I'm not going to give any names away. But obviously, look, I think one of them was asleep on Steve's desk in the morning. So that was.
Who had to sort out that mess? And I'm probably guessing it was John Blackwell, and he wasn't.
Yeah, obviously we had all the sandwiches there. All the sandwiches were there for the next day, because I used to be. I think it was a place in town called Burnham's. It used to be a little shop. We used to get all our food from there. And ever so lovely people there. They looked after us, and there was all the food there for the next day's training. Obviously, we ate all the food and everything, threw all the food against the walls and everything. So when Steve come in the morning, all the sandwiches were all over the floor, all over his desk, against the wall, and obviously we got told off that day. But there's one more story I remember. We had a game against Rushden, a pre-season friendly, and me and Mickey Brown, I said, listen, I know where Rushden is, I'll drive. And obviously I had a sat-nav, so obviously I took the wrong direction. We were about an hour late, and I thought, Steve Evans is like my dad, he's going to kill me, he's going to go absolutely crazy. So anyway, I got out of my car, and I smashed my wing light, and I said I had an accident, and I crashed into something, so we got told off. But when we got to the ground, because obviously we got to Rushden, and Rushden were like the Man City of non-league then, weren't they? They were like their players would walk around with robes on and things like that, and there's me standing with a windmill in my hand saying, Steve, gaffer, look, I had a car crash, and he went absolutely crazy with it. I tried to make it up that we had a crash in the car, and all the lads were killing us. So I think that's a couple of stories that have stuck in my head. And I wanted to keep them a bit clean, obviously, but that was the stories of the boys. That.
Oh, it's just things that you do just for the sake of not feeling the wrath from Steve Evans.
Can I just say about the guy who was involved in the club? He really looked after me when I was there. He passed away not long ago, didn't he? Glenn, wasn't it? Glenn from the club.
Yeah, Glenn Chapman.
Yeah, I got on really well with him, and sometimes, obviously, because I lived out there, and obviously he used to let me stay over at his house sometimes, and he was a super bloke, him, and I know he passed away recently. I messaged his wife not long ago, and even when I played for England, he came and watched the games, and when I think we played at Ketman's ground, he came over, but he was a lovely guy, he was, and I know he was still part of the club, wasn't long ago, so I seen that on the news not long ago, and so I just want to mention him as well, because he was a Mr. He done everything for the club, and he's a really nice guy, so I just want to mention him.
Real gentleman. Obviously, big part of the supporters association was Glenn as well. So he'll be sadly missed. I think I see Chris Cook put on about old water bottle guy. He's Don, I think his name is. He's just recently passed away. So there's obviously it's not nice, but it's always nice to keep the memories alive as well. So, yeah, you with that team, like you say, you had good understanding with Gouldy. It was very important to have a good partnership with Gouldy playing down that left-hand side. Was there any others who you probably thought I know you had a good team togetherness, but like partnerships. Was there anybody who stuck out where you thought, if I'm putting the ball in, I know where he's going to be, a bit like Darryl or someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think stats-wise, I think obviously I bet you had a lot of assists in them games, but I think without some of them players there, I was a part of it. But if you look at Darryl Clare, how many goals he scored, how good he was that season, and I think you're looking at Paul Ellender as well. He was what a player he was, and them two were like best mates, but they were like top players they were. And I think if they've been playing now, I reckon they'd be playing in the Championship. That's how highly I thought of them. I think Rodders and Paul Ellender, Jim Rodwell and Paul Ellender, they could have won games on their own, just them two playing, because that's how much heart they had. And I mean, I was the ball player, and they were the players that made that. In Bazza, if you look at Bazza and Jim Rodwell and Paul Ellender, and then you've got Darryl up front, they were like players that won us that league. Yeah, I had a big part in it, but them boys were the main reason why we won that league, definitely.
Yeah, I know Jim Rodwell used to frighten the life out of me. He used to header a ball back from about 2 yards to Bazza near the goal.
Yeah.
But he was that comfortable. It was just cool and calm. Rodders read the game very well. And I think even on the Hayes game, I think he was all bandaged up.
He was. Yeah. He was top guy. So near the tail end of your Boston time, obviously Neil Thompson, he must have been a massive influence from the coaching aspect. Yeah.
How good was Tomo?
I think as a coach, he was like one of the best coaches I've worked with, and to be fair, I got on really well with Neil. I got on well with him. Just had an issue with the contract. I said to you before, me and Simon obviously played in England together. A big part of winning the league with Boston, and Simon got offered a better contract than me, which I didn't agree with. And to be fair, I probably said some stuff that I shouldn't have said, and that's why I probably fell out with Neil probably. But one of the best coaches I've seen. He obviously coaching first team with Sheffield Wednesday recently when he was caretaker manager, but he worked well with Steve. Steve was more of the aggressive, the Fergie type of manager, whereas Neil was the coach. He done the coaching side of it, but he was top coach I thought. He was decent. He was decent bloke, and like I say, I was probably naive at times and probably said some stuff I shouldn't have said, and why I wasn't in the team and why I wasn't going offered a contract and a better contract. But that's part of football. But if I see Neil today and I bumped into him somewhere, I'd shake his hand because he was a decent guy. He was.
And you're saying about Steve, like the aggressive sort of thing. But you was the type of player who could, you could buzz off his passion and drive, and you responded to that. Were there anybody when you're looking around the changing room thinking, "Oh, I think he's done now" because Steve shouted at him, or wasn't it like it back then because they were, they had a bit more about them mentality wise? Yeah,
possibly. I think a lot of them boys there could give as good as they get, and I remember a game when we played Scarborough away and we were awful, and I think we were literally last 2-3 games of the season, I think we got beat 1-0 at Scarborough, and Steve come in and he was going absolutely crazy. I think Darryl Clare picked a big water bottle up, one of them big tanker water bottles, and he went to throw it, but I think there was a lot of big personalities in that dressing room who, if you were on your game, they wouldn't have to be Steve to say that. It would be Bazza, Paul Ellender, Darryl Clare, Simon Robertson as well. So there were some big characters in there. So, but I think with Steve, he gave out. But then the first time he had a go at me and he slaughtered me and he had a go at me, I thought he was going to speak to me ever again. But then the next day, it's forgot about it. It's just that's the way. I think that's the way. Like say Alex Ferguson's like that. He has a go at the players, and I think that's it. And then the next day, he got on with it. So, and I learned that. So I've not really had that in my career. A manager who was really vocal and wanted the best and really wanted to drive it. Probably not saying disrespect to Steve because he's had a top managerial career, but he's like Alex Ferguson say where he motivates players by being aggressive and wanting the best out of them. But he certainly did get the best out of all them boys. His man management was good. Like we have a game on a Saturday and he'll say, "You win Saturday, we'll see you Thursday." And obviously, full-time football was getting 4 days off during the season. You imagine how much they wanted to go through brick walls to win that game to get 4 days off. But he was good at that. He was really good at his man management side of, you win this game, you have 4 days off and things like that. So yeah, he was good at that. I liked Steve. I got him over.
Awesome stuff. So tail end, when you drifted away, I'm just trying to picture the timeline here, putting things into place. When did the likes of Danny Thomas, Courtney Pitt, were they? Yeah, they was leaving, or
yeah, they came in towards the end of the season when I was leaving. To be fair, and obviously I was trying to sort of contract out, and obviously Steve left the club. He came back and then he went again, but it was probably the 2003-2004 season where. Yeah. We had a trip organised to Magaluf at the end of the season after playing Cambridge, and to be fair, I didn't want to go, and I went in the end because I was out of contract. I didn't want to go away. I wanted to get another club and try and get fit, but that was probably the time I left when them boys came in. I think he was good. I think it was Danny Thomas was a good player. Left winger, he was a really good player. But that's when I was probably looking at going downwards that way. I was 31, 32. Them boys were probably 23, 24. They would have been in the league. I was probably coming out of the league. So that was the time I left. But to be honest, like I said, I got offered a 2-year contract to play at Kings Lynn on roughly the same salary I was on in Boston, and I've got a sign-on fee as well. So it was a no-brainer really to play a 2-year contract. So,
but again, it was very much what I liked. Being a fan then, you knew what you was getting. You knew you were getting 4-4-2. You weren't getting like inverted wingers like you get now. It was just always if you left hand side, you was left footed, and you just knew what you was getting out. You know, it was very very traditional back then. Obviously, how and as we said earlier, how the games has evolved. What was the camaraderie, the banter like on these bus journeys? Because they must have been some treks, right? Was it the era where the boys were playing cards and took a bit of money here and there?
Yeah, it was a. I mean, let's say I probably had 10, 12 clubs, pro, semi-pro, but them group of boys there was probably the best group of boys come together. Like say, we had players who were part-time at Boston going to full-time. Like Lodgy was part-time, full-time, and as players came from league clubs, and we just gelled so much as a group of players, and everybody got on well with everybody. We were relatively young squad as well. I was like 28, 30, whatever I was, and all the boys, we all went out together socially. We went to Peterborough, we lads lived together, but it was such a good group of boys there. Card schools on the bus. It was more of a few beers on the bus, to be honest with you, than the cars. So, but there was some good boys there. Top boy. Good trips as well. Even when we won the Hayes game, we went out in London for the night after that game. The bus took us into a hotel in London. So we all went out in London.
And as I texted you earlier, just to remind you, obviously, sending you the link and everything for today. I was very impressed, Cookie, when I was watching the highlights of the Hayes. Mark was better than Sergio Ramos because it was a bit. He had that cup at the top of the bus near the assembly rooms coming over the bridge, and he didn't let go of it. It was
keeping me standing up. It was keeping me holding you up. But we'd all had a night out in London before that, and we all got back to Boston in the morning. Obviously, even just driving over that bridge over the town into where the old Wetherspoons is, just driving down there and seeing all them fans, that was amazing. That was. I looked at it. I watched that not long ago. That video of it, and that was amazing. That was unbelievable experience. That.
Yeah, prolonged it, and obviously I think the video sort of ends with Steve getting on the microphone and starts singing to the crowd. Stand up if you love Boston and stuff like that. No, wore his heart on his sleeve. Got to do what he had to. So I did give you some warning about this, Mark. We do a part of it, the 1 to 11 segment of OffScript. I give you the challenge of putting a team together, best players you've played with at Boston. I think you've got it all sorted now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've got me.
I'm going to go out on a limbo and say probably Bazza might be in. If not, it could be a bit of a travesty.
Yeah, Bazza is just Mr. Boston legend, isn't he? He's been there, done it. Top keeper, top bloke, Mr. Boston. He ain't going to get any better goalkeepers than him. But not just his goalkeeping, his personality, his all about and everything. All the lads loved him. He's such a good bloke, and I still speak to him to this day. And he's you just couldn't pick a better goalkeeper now anyway. He was a top drawer, he was.
Yeah. Are we going 4-4-2, Mark?
I'm going to go 4-4-2. Yeah, keep it nice and simple.
I was going to say, if it's a modern day formation, it might baffle some.
I've got Cliffy at right back. Mark Clifford. I thought again, him on his day, he should have been playing league football when he was at Boston before we got into the league. He was quick, strong, good personality, good on the ball, energetic, like a modern day footballer now where he can get up and down the pitch. I liked him. He was top lad as well.
And he had a weird technique of throwing a ball.
Yeah, it was like a sort of a throw, wasn't it? Yeah, so yeah, he was. You won't get many right backs better than him. To be fair, he was top drawer. He was.
Peace.
I had left back. I had Chappie Ben Chapman, who was there obviously when we were in the league. The little lad from Grimsby. He was top player, tough as nails. He was good lad, strong. So even though Goldie was there in Lodgy, I thought Chappie was. I like playing in front of him because he was a tough player and he sort of done a lot of my defensive work and just gave me the ball really. So
he came across really nasty, didn't he, Ben Chapman? Like he was like a hard nut. He's got calfzillas. His calves are massive.
He was really quiet in the changing room. He was really quiet lad, but on the pitch, yeah, he was different altogether. I thought he was a top lad. He was a top player. He was really good. My centre half was Jim Rodwell. Been there, done it at that level. Outstanding work rate, energy, effort, will to win was amazing. And his centre half partner was Ray Warburton. I loved Razor when he came to the club. Another leader like him, top lad off the pitch as well. Not me, a nicer lad, and we used to travel in together. Me, Goldie, Razor, because I lived Spalding. I used to pick me up from they were Northampton lads and pick me up, and top player as well. Run through brick wall for Haywood. So that would be my.
I think he's just taken on a different role at Northampton. Is he?
Yeah, it's like first team coach. Yeah. John Brady, who's their manager, obviously he got me involved at Arsenal, but I couldn't put John in the team because he only didn't play many games. So, but that's my back four anyway.
Well, Razor, you got to have him in because obviously that's the partnership, the free kick, the header. He had to be in, didn't it, Razor?
And he was tough as nails as well, so I hadn't put him in. He might have slaughtered me, to be fair. So my centre midfielder, which probably I could have played him at the back, but was Paul Allender. Another one who you just admired because of he was a really funny bloke. He was as well. He was the biggest wind-up merchant ever. I mean, I remember being at Boston where he's pouring eggs on Darryl Clare's car and eggs and flour and everything. But he was such a top lad. He was. He used to train the He used to drive past and throw water bottles out the cars and things like that. Obviously, didn't do it now, could you? But he was just that. He was brilliant. He was. You want a player that will run through brick walls. He was the one. He wasn't technically as good as what other people would suggest, but if you had put one player in your team at the start of a game, it would be him.
Did he sign at the club as a centre half or a midfielder? Yeah, because he played at Scarborough.
Yeah.
Where obviously all Boston fans really disliked him, and then I think a week later he was wearing a Boston shirt.
Yeah, Steve played as centre half at Scarborough, and but he started playing midfield a little bit more. But I had to put him in midfield because I couldn't leave that Razor and Rodder. So, but he was top lad, honestly, really down to earth lad. He was top player. I think I've got another Simon Williston in midfield. I think he had a trail at Bolton as well at the time. He was one of the best players I know Simon's when he was a younger player as well. So he should have maybe played at a higher level than where we were at the time. Even though we got into the league, I think he went to Bolton for a while, but very professional, very fit.
Who was that, Mark? Sorry?
Simon Weatherston. He was very, very professional in his training. We were like to have a mess about and a joking, but he was very serious with his training, his diet, everything, even at that level. That time when we were 20 years ago, he was like, fitness-wise, he was one of the fittest lads you'll see. So he was a good lad. He was a quiet lad, have a bit of fun with lads, but he was really model professional, I thought he was. Whereas the likes of Murray Waters and Paul Allender and Darryl like to have a little drink now and again. Very much professional. So
he'd be sat in the corner having a Coke.
Yeah, definitely. I've got who else I've got Neil Redfern. Put him in midfield. So what can you say about Neil? How many appearances he made, and how many, even some of the goals he scored at Boston when he was there. But for him to still be playing, I think he was like 40, wasn't he? He was first. He used to travel from Barnsley and wherever he lived, like 2 hours a day to training. He was first one there. He was training. He was fit. His attitude and his appetite to play football, like some younger, like myself, I was probably a lot younger than him, and I think, train again today, and got to do a bit of extra. But he was like the model, and you can see the career he's had, how well he's done. So he was a player that I'd have in there.
Did Neil ever sell you some Adidas boots?
I think he sold most of the boys some stuff, didn't he? So good lad he was.
I was in sixth form at the time, and we had a young lad, a local salesman at BMW, Adam Lester, and he was on work experience at the club, and it was only old days, and he'd come back and said, Neil Redfern's selling some Adidas Supernova boots if you want some. I said, I'll have a slice of that off Redders, and he was ordering them in, and I was like, where's my Supernovas? He said, I'm getting the delivery come in. I've actually got a pair up in the loft, Supernovas bought off Neil Redfern.
Yeah, he's the top guy. He was top guy. He was. Yeah, like everyone like Neil, he was a good guy.
So experienced.
I've got a player you might not remember. I didn't play much with him, but David Noble, can you remember him? Blonde-haired lad, centre midfielder. Steve brought him in from West Ham as a young lad, and his ability was unbelievable. He played centre midfield, but he was skillful, got a great right foot on him. I didn't play much with him, but watching him training, coming from a Premier League club, I was a youth team player. He stuck out in my mind, and I thought if he maybe had a better, not saying the word attitude, but maybe he applied himself better, because he's probably a young lad in London, probably straight after the game he's out at the weekends, and probably similar to me when I was younger that age, but I think he played for Exeter as well. But ability-wise, he was on a par with anyone I've seen. He was such a good player, so really good. And the two strikers I've got, Darryl Clare was obviously, for me, one of the best players I've played with, ability-wise, and he had everything. He's physical, he's skillful, he was scored goals, his header, his will to win. But above all that, he was a bit like Paul Ellender. He's like such a good team player, such a good lad around the dressing room.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so many good players around the dressing room. He was one of them players that was probably up there for me as the reason why we won that league, to be honest with you. Yeah, because he scored all the goals, but he was winning games on his own for us, to be fair. He was I think remember Southport when he scored the last header from like 30 yards out or something like that. But he was, if he'd been playing now, if this was this level now, he'd be another one I think would be being a very wealthy footballer, very good level to play that, because he had everything. He had everything at that level. Honestly, he had everything as a player.
Yeah.
You know, I've got one more player. He's a local lad. See if you can guess his name. He's a young lad. Didn't play many. Yeah, I've got Anthony down. He was a young lad coming through, and you could see he had so much ability and talent there. He was fit, he was strong, such a good lad. And it's a funny story about Anthony. I actually had a car, I can't remember what it was, a Citroen, and he wanted to buy it off me, and he gave me half the money for it, and he said, I haven't got any money. He said, just keep the car. I said, I'm not going to keep the car. He was driving around with me, and he was going to give me it back. So he was just such a down-to-earth lad. He was a really good lad. I've not seen him for a while, but he said, I said, Anthony, what are you going to do that car? He goes, no, just take it back, keep it. I haven't got the rest of the money for it. So he was such a, but he did well to get his moves he did, and he was, he did well, got the Leeds and everything. I think if he kicked on from Leeds, he could have been playing Premier League football if he had just, he could have went and played a really, he could have went there. If he kicked on again, he could have been that top Premier League level, but injuries wise and whatever. But that's just one of them things.
I could be wrong here, but I'm sure Anthony Eldon was Gary McAllister's first signing at Leeds.
Yeah, could have been. I think you could see the potential when he was younger. You could see how good he was, and like I said, he had the right breaks and the right. I mean, getting a break to go to Leeds was probably unbelievable, right? But like I say, if he kicked on again, he could have went to that next. If you look like Billy Sharp and people like that with Doncaster and Rushton, they ended up going another step again where Anthony was just as good as him, and he just didn't go to that. But like you say, he obviously financially did very well out of it. So, but he was top player, good lad as well. All good around the dressing room, them boys.
Who would you? You've got quite a few leaders in there. Who would you name as your captain?
I think it'd have to be either Paul Allender or Rodders, I think. Probably Paul Allender, I think.
Allender.
Yeah.
Allender seems to get it. Allender was the same on Steve's one last week. But great, 1 to 11. And I'm guessing the manager would be Steve. Yeah,
Steve. He's done what he did. And like I said, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea at Boston, but what he did in that season, he had the financial. He had the financial from the backing from the Malkinsons, but even to win that league how he did, all them players have brought him together. I think he done really well for the club. And if he hadn't been suspended or whatever happened, obviously we know that say what happened. And if he had been able to kick on again and stayed there that season when we went up, I personally think that Boston would still be a league club now, because I don't think we would have been near the bottom of the league if he had been still in charge, if I'm being honest. But that's just the way it is, and that's the way football is. But he did a good job getting Boston on the map and getting them in the Football League, so fair play to him.
Top team. Really, really good side, that. Cookie, before we wrap it up, anything from you?
He's asleep, isn't he? He's dozed off.
No, I'm still here. I'm
He's
still
in his
here.
man cave.
It's hard to stop righty talking sometimes. Goes for it. Great insight there, and thanks for that. I ask it to everybody because obviously my YouTube channel that this will be put on is for the younger players. Is there just one piece of advice you'd give to younger players playing football now? One piece of advice you'd give.
My advice would be, because all the young kids, all the young players want to be pro footballers, and in an ideal world, it doesn't always happen. But I think Boston got a good scholar program there, like the 16 to 18s, where they do the scholarship side of it. And I'd say to all the players, try and get. We all want to be that top level football. We want to play in the game, but get your other side of the game, like your educational side. So try and get your academic studies up. And I mean, I wasn't the cleverest at school, but there's plans put in place now where players can get degrees from playing, to get PE teachers, they can get the coaching qualifications and go to America. So I would say, as long as you've got that dream of being a footballer, just try and do the academicals, the school side, the other side of it as well, because you don't always have to be a pro footballer. You can still get a good job in sport with physio, you can get sports psychologists, so there's loads of stuff in there, but the coaching for all the young boys that are coming up as well. So that's an important part of the side, I think, to do that side, I think.
Yeah, like you say, there's loads of jobs in football now. So yeah, thanks for that. Great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. It's good to come on, guys. Really good to speak to you both.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate that, mate. Coming on and reliving the glory days. It's great to hear about.
There's a lot more stories than that, but I couldn't tell them on here. I'll have to tell you another time.
Yeah, we had to put an age restriction, but yeah, we like to hear about the obviously people who go pro, and especially when you've played for the local club, which is obviously means a lot to both me and Cookie. Great team, great insight for the lads coming up. I just want to say from myself, Cookie, thank you for coming on OffScript, and for the people who do watch it, fingers crossed it all goes well for next week. We're going to be recording with Lee Canterville.
Yeah,
so that's coming up next week. But for now, thank Mark Angel for coming on, and we'll see you again soon.
Well done for all the time you put in doing it, boys. Well done. Catch you soon, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers. Boys.
Thank you, Mark.
Cheers, boys.